Join us for this week's episode of the Low Code Revolution. I'll be joined by April Speight, who'll be showing us how we can add mixed reality into our Power Apps using out-of-the-box features. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, April here. Welcome to another episode of the Low Code Revolution. Today I'm joined by April Speight, another April. Welcome to the show, April.
Hi April, how are you doing?
Doing great. I'm really looking forward to what you have in store, talking about mixed reality and Power Apps. But first, why don't you tell everyone watching a little bit about what you do?
Yes, I lead the spatial computing and cloud advocacy team here at Microsoft. We partner very closely with the mixed reality team, and we span a variety of extended reality topics, whether that be AR or VR, as well as MR, so augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality, and then everything in between there as well.
That's awesome. So mixed reality, I've heard about it. We've probably all heard about it, but why don't you tell everyone watching maybe a little bit, what do we actually mean by mixed reality and what are some of the use cases that we might interject that in our business applications?
Yes, absolutely. So mixed reality is going to be the blending of the digital and the real world. We're going to blend that seamlessly. So that way it's almost as though the virtual and digital objects that we're seeing in mixed reality apps are able to interact with our real world environment in such a manner where it almost seems like it's going to be real. Now, with regards to a business case, there's various businesses who have used mixed reality, whether it's in their consumer apps where they have product catalogs of products that people can buy and actually try them out in their home environment. There's also examples around estimation. So if someone wanted to be able to get floor estimates, if someone needed flooring, you can use mixed reality for that in a more measuring perspective. And then in addition to that, there's also going to be the ability to view actual objects in your space as well. So if you are helping someone with trying to figure out what furniture and such you want to actually purchase for a space or designing something, you can use mixed reality to try out those particular products in the space without having to actually physically purchase the product and then test it out once you have it. So there's a lot of good examples of how you can use it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really important today when everything is kind of virtual, right? To be able to have that capability. And I think we're all kind of familiar with mixed reality when we talk about it from like a gaming perspective, but it's cool to realize that there's more and more use cases from a business perspective as well for it. And I know I've ran into that recently. I just moved in to a new house and I was needed to get some new furniture. So the application that the furniture place had is actually using mixed reality where I could kind of visualize and measure to make sure the furniture fit in my space. So I didn't have to go into the store and do all that. So it really came in handy for me. So lots of endless use cases for mixed reality on our apps for sure. So wondering, we're talking about Power Apps. So how can we work with mixed reality in Power Apps? What options do we have?
Yes, we do have 4 different controls, and I have brought the controls along with me to share with you all today. And so I have short little demos. First, we're going to start up with the view in 3D and view in MR, which is also view in mixed reality. Those are the first 2 controls I'm going to share. I'm going to let this demo play, but what's happening is there's this model of this rocket. You can view it in 3D, which means in the app, you can view all sides of it. You can turn it, you can move it around, you can see it from different angles. And then when you view an MR, you're actually going to be able to view that in the real world. So in this particular case, this rocket's now visible at scale. As you probably see, it's very large. And you're able to view it there. You can also take photos of it as well. And so with those photos, there's a variety of things you can do with it. I personally have had mine uploaded to like a OneDrive. You can also email it to people as well. So that's going to be your view in 3D and view in MR. Next, we have the view shape in MR. So this one's going to be really helpful in the event that you might not quite have the object, but there's a shape that you can use in its place. And in this case, it's going to be this rectangular object. So once we're able to detect the surface, which is what those little dots were in the beginning, then we can actually place the object there, and then we can see how things will look with that shape. The last option I have for you is going to be a measure in MR. And so for this example, we're going to be using a ruler to measure the space. In this particular example, it's filtering out which objects fit based on dimensions. So this app itself has a measure in mixed reality component Whereas once I'm in my real space, I can actually take measurements with my phone, and the app is going to remember the measurements that are being taken. So in this particular example, we're going to start on one corner, head to the next corner, and then we're going to keep continuing around as much space we need it. You don't have to do a traditional like square, if you will. In this case, it was just a straight line. So we were able to filter out to this one product that happens to be a perfect one to use. And then from there, you're able to actually view that object in the space using that view and mixed reality feature. And you can also move it around. You can twist and turn where what needs you, what have you. And you can also take photos as well. So those are going to be the controls that we have for mixed reality and Power Apps.
Wow, that's pretty awesome that that's all available natively in Power Apps, where we can just kind of plug and play and have all of that feature and functionality inside of the apps. That's pretty cool. I had a chance to work with some of the mixed reality stuff when I was doing a hackathon project, and I worked with some of the components in there to the view in mixed reality to see like hospital beds, like in an area to do makeshift hospitals and stuff. So that was the first time I really dove into the mixed reality components, and I loved it. I was really impressed. So, I mean, those are the options that we have there, but how do we actually start using these in our app? And what's a good use case of what we could do with this inside of a Power App specifically? Do you have an example of that?
Yes, I actually have a real world example to share with you. And before I head into that, what I will share, and you'll probably get an idea of some of that in this demo. You can also, with Power Apps, you can also use various other means of connecting with other data that you may have as a business. And so as I'm sharing this demo here in a bit, hopefully you all will also start to think of other ways to connect. There's M365, there's Azure, Dynamics, and then there's other ERP and CRM providers as well that you can also connect with. So for the demo that I brought for you all today, we have a mixed reality sales companion app. And so this is going to, similar to what I showed before, but it's going to be able to show products that'll fit into a customer space. And so in this case, as we press start, the person will start the new session, and these will be the different products that will be available for them to try out. And so as they're browsing through the products that are here, they can select on products to learn more. There's also filtering options. So just as you would expect in any sort of like shopping app that you're using. For this one, we're filtering, and we're also typing in what sort of measurements that we want to consider for what we're looking for. And so in this case, now we're actually placing the object itself, getting that floor idea of where the actual surface is, and then we're measuring from there. That's going to help us get an idea of how much space we can actually use for an object. And so from there, once that completes, we're also going up, as you may have noticed as well. So now we have an entire shape that's there. And this is pretty much an idea of like how big something is that we may want to actually put into that space. We're able to track that as well. You can capture that information and save it. And then you can use that information across various ways, such as any logic that you incorporate into any sort of like filtering, for example. And so in this particular use case that we have here, it's done as such. It took those measurements, it filtered things out. And so now we have this end cap that has been selected. We're going to put that into the space to get an idea of how that would look. This is really good with planning. So in this particular case, if you are doing store planning, you're able to get an idea of how you can actually arrange things in the store. And from someone coming from retail, I can definitely say that's super helpful, especially coming from the grocery retail space. It helps versus trying to move things around. But again, we're going to get an idea of where that floor is. And then once we have that, we'll go ahead and put the 3D model there. And here's that end cap. We can turn it around, as we'll see here in the demo, and you can rearrange it whatever way is best. Being able, for me personally, to take photos of how things look is, I don't know, I think it's great because it's kind of hard to remember how things are, and especially if you want to share this with others. The same goes for the measure and mixed reality control as well. Once you do take those measurements, you can also take pictures of that as well, the measured space that you have. And so with the demo is continuing with just additional products that are being tested in the space as well. But overall, that's an example of how you can use it. It can really help with planning. And then if you are in that sales process with a client, you're able to help hopefully close some deals without having to actually physically bring the products there to their space.
Wow, that's amazing. I can think of so many great use cases for that. Even beyond like the retail and the sales space. And the beauty of it being, like what you mentioned earlier, is like all the integrations that we have natively, right? We can integrate with our Microsoft 365 data, Azure, CRM, all of that just natively with the Power Platform. That's really the beauty of it, is the built-in integrations that we have to make it so fast and convenient to build these applications. And now with mixed reality.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I really like it. I'm very happy to have seen these controls in here. I know for some folks, when it comes to developing for mixed reality, the first thing that comes to mind is literally that word develop, which you may think, okay, I need to know how to program. But what's great is with Power Apps, you don't necessarily need that particular skill set, especially when it comes to mixed reality, because everything that you're creating, you're going to create it in the Power Apps portal, and they're all controls that you can drag and drop. Can you add additional configurations? Sure. If you are more savvy with working with formulas in there, then you definitely can do more with that. But with the features as they are, literally drag and drop. And I feel like it gives you more autonomy in terms of creating these sort of apps that you want without having to worry about having a full expert team that will have to build out this sort of app.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it can take a while to build that same functionality with traditional code. So it just, saves time all the way around. Great. So, for people that are out there wanting to get started with the mixed reality and Power Apps, do you have any resources or anything for people to really start diving into this?
Yes, I absolutely do. I have a list to share here with everyone. So first and foremost, we recently published a Power Apps Mixed Reality module on Microsoft Learn, and I will suggest checking that out. It is a full from end-to-end guide of how to create a business app using mixed reality features, and it goes through actually a lot of the features that I shared with you all here today. So if you saw something you're wondering, well, how can I actually implement that into my app? That module is going to give you instructions on how to do so. So you can access that by going to aka.ms/learn-mr Power Apps. Again, highly suggest checking that out, especially if you were amazed by the features that I showed today. The second is going to be just the Power Platform in general. And so this is where I started when I was learning more with this Power Platform. And so aka.ms/learn-power platform, that's where you can find a lot of the modules in there. And then also I have a link here for the mixed reality app controls. And so that's going to be the different controls that I showed you today. That's going to be where you can find documentation for those, so you can learn more about how to implement them, as well as what other features are potentially available. And then finally, models. So I know not everyone may have access to models or someone that's a model designer, and that's totally fine. There is definitely options available. And so for this particular example that I have here, it's a GitHub repository of a good amount of models that you can check out and use for whatever it is that you're building. You can access that by going to aka.ms/models. And I would say that's a good option if you're looking for some models, especially if you're just testing things out. But yeah, that's where I would say to go ahead and get a start with it.
Wow, I didn't know about that models resource. I could have used that when I was working with some of the mixed reality stuff a little bit ago. So that's good to know. I learned something today for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, April. This has been really eye-opening. And make sure that you check out that Learn path. I just went through it myself. It's very informative. It's a great starting point if you want to look at these mixed reality components. So thanks so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. We'll see you next time on the next episode of Low Code Revolution.